District Secretary Mihir Shah. But it was not without its fair share of drama after a manhunt that lasted for almost 60 hours. But the Worli incident cannot be seen in isolation. Over the weekend, there was another incident, this one which happened in Nashik, where 2 police personnel were run over. You also had another incident in Pune. Just a few months ago, you had the Pune hit-and-run case, where there was this luxury car which was driven by a miner who was the son of a builder. He rammed into 2 techies. Now, the question is, what is it? And there is a common thread that's running through all of these cases from Pune to Nashik to Mumbai, and that is that the sons and daughters of the children of rich and famous people seem to be immune to the law, or they seem to have a different set of laws applicable to them. So, we're trying to hit the nail on the head. What is it that allows these people to get away with murder? Is it the law, the lack of implementation, or simply that they have the financial and other resources to muscle their way through to innocence?
तो न्याय मिलने वाला नहीं है, क्योंकि उसको 24 घंटे के बाद अंदर पकड़ लेता तो समझ में आता था। अभी बताओ, अगर उसने गुनाह नहीं किया तो वो छुप क्यों गया? 3 दिन छुपा क्यों? इसका राज क्या है? इधर इसमें कुछ पॉलिटिक्स रहेगा, इसलिए वो छुपा है ना। हाँ, अभी वो ऊपर से वो लोग प्रेशर डालेंगे, हो गया खत्म। क्या कर सकते हैं हम लोग?
ये सभी लोग कानून के सामने, कानून के दायरे में एक समान है, और इसलिए मैंने ये इंस्ट्रक्शन पहले दिन में दिया है। और कार्रवाई आप देख रहे हैं, उनके फैमिली के साथ हम लोग हैं, हमारे ही परिवार के लोग हैं, ऐसा मैं मानता हूँ। और निश्चित रूप से उनको भी जो सपोर्ट चाहिए, कानूनी सपोर्ट चाहिए, उनको आर्थिक सपोर्ट जो भी है वो कम करें।
मुझे लगता है कि सबसे कठोर शिक्षा जो है देश में, वो इस मिहिर राजेश शाह को मिलनी चाहिए, जो बुलडोजर जस्टिस हर जगह ये रेजिम देने की कोशिश करता है। उनके घर पे अभी करके दिखा। बीएमसी किसी पे भी कार्रवाई कर सकती है, रास्ता जिसने बनाया, सीलिंग जिसने बनाया, लेकिन मिहिर राजेश शाह पे कार्रवाई होगी कि नहीं होगी, ये बीएमसी ने जवाब देना जरूरी है। उनके घर पे पहले बुलडोजर लेके जाओ।
वर्ली हिट एंड रन में जो लोकल्स आए, ये सरकार ने, शासन ने और सरकार के लोगों ने जानबूझकर ये प्रकरण को दबाने की कोशिश की है।
Now, here's the thing. This is the 3rd case that we have seen in Maharashtra, from Pune to Worli. In the last month or so, there is a systematic use of money power and muscle power to try and subvert the course of justice. Let's just compare the 2 cases. What happened in Pune a few weeks ago and what happened in Worli in Mumbai. The Pune hit-and-run case, it happened in May of 2024. 2 young IT professionals, a man and a woman, were mowed down by a Porsche car, a high-end sports car that was driven by a minor. In the Worli hit-and-run case, which happened in July, just a few days ago, the youth was driving the BMW. He mows down, he drags down a couple, a woman and a man, but the woman who was sitting in the rear seat was dragged for 1.5 kilometers up to the Bandra Worli ceiling. The Pune hit-and-run case, the minor who's the accused happens to be the son of a prominent builder, and the system went out of its way to try and ensure that he is not fixed. Now, the driver in the Mumbai case happens to be the son of a Shinde Sena leader, and he was arrested yesterday. He's been produced in court today. In the Pune hit-and-run case, the accused was granted bail after the judge, quite bizarrely, suggested that he should write an essay apologizing for his behavior. He did so, and he was granted bail. And then, of course, again, he was brought back into custody. As far as the Worli case is concerned, this man, Mihir Shah, the son of a Shinde Sena leader, has been absconding for the better part of almost 60 hours after this crash. Finally, he was nabbed by the Maharashtra police. In Pune, the blood sample, and there was the accusation against the doctors at the Sassoon hospital there that they tampered with the blood sample. They changed the blood sample of the accused, and thereby he got away with murder. Whereas in the Worli hit-and-run case, the accusation is that the Shinde Sena leader helped his son escape from the scene of crime. In Pune, the father and the grandfather, both of them were held. Both of them were held as accused. They were arrested for coercing the driver to take the blame. In Worli, the Shiv Sena leader was accused of destruction of evidence. He's been expelled from the party, but he's now out on bail. So, we've done that comparison between what happened in Pune and what happened in Worli, but the fact of the matter is, how can someone be okay with the fact that here is a politician's son who's accused of running over a woman who is now dead and a man who's fighting for justice for his wife? They dragged the body on the bonnet of the car for 1.5 kilometers up to the ceiling, then exchange seats. The driver sits on the seat that's behind the wheel and then drags the victim's body for another few hundred meters. Mahesh Tapase is national spokesperson of the NCP Sharad Pawar faction. Sushil Vyas will be joining us, national spokesperson of the Shiv Sena, the Eknath Shinde faction. Of course, Rajesh Shah belongs to the Eknath Shinde faction. Yashovardhan Azad, former IPS officer, Ashutosh Srivastav, is the lawyer of the accused family in the Pune car crash. Let me first start with Sushil Vyas, who's from the Shinde Sena. What explains the fact that here was a 24-year-old who mowed down two people, one of them is dead, and then he ran away. His driver has taken the blame, but it took a good 60 hours, almost 3 days, for the Maharashtra police to apprehend this young man?
Very unfortunate. It was a heinous crime. Nobody can say that it is. Nobody can insult this person. But as far as the police is concerned, police has acted as per the law prescribed. Law has laid down. The 10 different committees were formed. Teams were formed of crime branch. They were there on the job. They have arrested the father of this accused immediately. They have arrested driver. They have arrested 12 more people. And then ultimately, after 60 hours, as you said, he himself was arrested yesterday morning. And then the accusation of this culpable homicide not amounting to murder, that is under the new act of Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita that replaces Indian Penal Code under section 105, read with 238, as you said, 60 hours, and all evidence and all that removal of evidence and disappearance of evidence, that 238 new section is there. So nobody is shielded. As Chief Minister went on record saying immediately after this unfortunate incident that nobody will be shielded because of political connections. All are equal. They will be treated equal. And it seems to be that everybody is equally treated.
Mr. Vyas,
there is no lacuna.
I also want to bring in Mahesh Tapase of the NCP. Mahesh Tapase, on the 7th of July, Mihir Shah's car rams into a couple that was riding on a scooter just ahead of him. This was in the early morning hours of Saturday. The victim, Kaveri Nakhwa, succumbs to her injuries, but not before she's dragged on the bonnet of this car for a good 1.5 kilometers up to the Bandra Worli ceiling. The next day, the father of the accused, Rajesh Shah, he's arrested. He's granted bail. Bail has been granted for 15,000 rupees. The accused, who is Mihir Shah, after a good 58 hours, is picked up from Shahpur. About a dozen odd family members and friends of Mihir Shah have also been picked up in the run-up to him being finally apprehended. The point is, the Shinde Sena, the government in Maharashtra is saying, we have done everything as per the book. What more do you want from them?
Well, Zaka, there are two things to it. I'm sure that Mr. Azad would agree to it. Since his father was already apprehended by the police and granted a bail, I'm sure the family would have communicated to the boy that such and such things happened. He was in hiding only for the effect of the alcohol to wane off. That is the only reason that I see as a lane person. I'm not an investigative officer, neither am I a lawyer. But let me tell you, what is the reason for a person to hide when his father has already been taken in custody by the police? There is no other reason. He was hiding purely to hide the fact that he was under the influence of alcohol. He dragged a woman almost to the length of 2 kilometers, and then she had to, unfortunately, she succumbed to her injuries. And this was very, very highly insensitive. No doubt that the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, right from day one, said that nobody is above law. But why did the police not take immediate action? Was there no coercion on behalf of the police and the family members and the father to see that the child, that boy, whoever the victim is, whoever the accused is there, is called and is taken into custody? His mother, his sisters, they are in glove, they are almost hand in hand with him.
Yeah.
And this is something
Yeah,
very
Yashwardhan
distressing.
Azad, the contention by the opposition is this young man, Mihir Shah, was allowed to be, out of the police's radar for almost 60 hours, more than 2 days, because by the time they apprehend him and bring him back for a medical test, whatever alcohol presence was there in the blood alcohol level, after 48 hours, it will vanish. Therefore, the Mumbai police gave him almost a free hand. They overlooked the fact that this Mihir Shah was absconding. Do you buy that theory?
Not really. I understand the gravity of the offense, and he has really behaved like a criminal. I agree. But to say that the police colluded to make him escape is a little thick. I'll tell you. In situations like this, you have the modern technology to trace the accused. You have the CCTVs, you have the electronic evidence and things like that. But he switched off his mobile. And he ran away. This was 5 o'clock in the morning or 4:30 in the morning, when the police presence is at its thinnest anywhere. And so if he went away and he was traced immediately when that electronic beep came in the form of the signals which came from the towers. So I won't sort of agree with that, but certainly what is important is the larger question which you have raised is that why do the rich and powerful continue doing this?
Yeah.
A man who, after committing such a grave mistake, I mean, a crime, I'm sorry, and drags the body, and then even after that, Zaka, the body, when it is put on the road, you just crush and, ride over it.
Yeah.
That is a premeditated murder. So let it not be the impact of the alcohol. Let him prove that he was under alcohol. Let it be a premeditated murder when you're fully, conscious, and then you have an accident. Apart from the 1063 or whatever is 10 years punishment, this also looks like a premeditated evidence along with the fact that you were hiding evidence.
Okay, let me ask Ashutosh Srivastav. I know you're defending the accused in the Pune car crash, who happens to be a minor. The Worli case is slightly different, in fact, very different from the Pune case. But I do want to ask you, Ashutosh Srivastav, that what is the condoning factor as far as this accused is concerned? Today we saw bulldozers being raised on the pub where he was served. My understanding is he was within legal age to be served alcohol. The point is not that you bulldoze the pub. The point is, if anything needs to be bulldozed, it is Mihir Shah's house. It is Rajesh Shah's house. That's what the government and the BMC should be demolishing or bulldozing, if at all they should be doing that at all. If it is found to be legally scrutinizable and so on. But to bulldoze the bar which served a legal adult alcohol, and then he goes on to crash a car, I mean, that's just bizarre.
Yes, I completely do agree with you. I think, the people who do not have direct role in any alleged offense should not unnecessarily be dragged, and even their businesses should not be damaged like this. However, I know that, the age for serving the liquor is 25 in Maharashtra. So that is a part that has to be checked and verified. However, I think rule of law has to be followed. We have seen that many of the bars have been targeted at many of the places, and they had taken the licenses, they had paid all the taxes to the government. And it is a big loss to them, not only to them, but also to many of the employees working in such bars or such restaurants.
No, so I just want to be very clear about this, Ashutosh Srivastav. I believe even in the Pune case, where the accused, in this case was a minor who had no business to be served alcohol, he was, and then he came out. So, I believe there too, Ashutosh Srivastav, the action has been taken against the bar. I don't get it. I mean, is it the job of bar owners and bar managers to ensure that, people who are drunk and walk out of their bar do not get into brawls or accidents?
See, as per the Juvenile Justice Act, Section 77 lays down the punishment for any such manager or bar restaurant, people who are involved into serving liquor to minors. And they were already arrested, and the punishment prescribed is around 7 years maximum punishment if it is proved. So I think that part, when it was already taken care of and the police had already registered the FIR additionally and arrested the bar owners and also the managers who were involved in serving the liquor to minor, I don't think thereafter there is any need of breaking or bulldozing such
So
bars
let me
unless and
ask
until the
Sushil
rule
Vyas this,
rule of
because
law
this
has been
seems to
followed.
be that they are putting the cart before the horse. The fact of the matter is, at least in this case, my understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is that to be served hard liquor, you have to be above 25 in Maharashtra. But to be served beer and wine, even if you're under 25, that is fine. Now, we don't know what this young man was served. But the point is not whether he was served or not served, and that's not the crime. His crime is, after having been drunk and inebriated, he took the wheels of a car, went and mowed down someone, and then dragged that body all the way for about 1.5 kilometers till the Worli ceiling. That is the crime. That has nothing to do with the bar owner or the bar manager or whoever it is that served him alcohol.
Jaka, you are right. There is nothing to do with that. But once it is came to the knowledge of someone, as my learned friend representing lawyer Srivastavji, I pointed out that minimum age of 25 is required in Maharashtra for serving the liquor. Here, this boy age was 24. He was not having permit to consume liquor. So without permit, if bar owner is giving them liquor, so if it has come to the knowledge, the action will be taken, and accordingly that liquor serving license is suspended. They can only continue with the restaurant. And then later on, the municipal corporation of Mumbai, they came to somebody brought to their knowledge that a certain part of that bar was illegal, so they have just demolished that
But
illegal
Mr.
part of
Vyas,
the bar.
don't you find this whole thing so farcical that after this entire case, which captured the national media's attention, now you're saying, oh, they've built illegal structures. Now you're saying, oh, there was some unauthorized construction there at that bar, and therefore we have to demolish parts of that bar. That just seems post facto. That just seems like, the crime was committed, the grave incident happened, and now to try and quell the audience's anger, to quell the viewers' and voters' anger, the government needs to be seen as doing something, and here they are bulldozing a part of the bar. If you really want to bulldoze something, go ahead and bulldoze Mihir Shah's house, Rajesh Shah's house. Would you do
that? Definitely, if law permits, that will also be done. See, according to whatever police is doing as per the prescribed law of the land, you can't just go against that. Now everybody is blaming Maharashtra government. You have not done this. You have not done this. Nobody is pointing out the lacuna. What lacuna police is there in the investigation which police is doing? Now police is filed FIR under 105 of the new act, read with 238. 238 is disappearance of evidence. What are you saying? 60 hours, blah blah blah. That this evidence is removed. That's why 238. That is also a very very serious crime. Disappearance of evidence is also what police can do. Police is investigating. Police produce it before the magistrate. If magistrate grants somebody bail, namely his father, is it a crime of police? Police has done everything.
Let me just read out for Mahesh Tapase and our viewers' sake. What are the sections of the new BNS, the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, that have been adopted in this case against the accused? 105, Mahesh Tapase, culpable homicide not amounting to murder. 281, rash and negligent driving, endangering human life. 125B, endangering life and personal liberty, and section 238 and 324(4), committing mischief amounting to cause loss and damage. What more do you want the Maharashtra police, the Mumbai police to do, Mahesh Tapase?
No, definitely police has swung into action. We are only contemplating that the action has been very late. It could have happened just within the couple of hours, because somebody would have definitely dropped out. The moment the father has taken, the driver has taken the responsibility onto himself, the police should have swung into action, and we are smelling the high-handedness of the Shah Parivar along with the CM's party. That is the only contention. I am not blaming here the Mumbai police. There is definitely a point of contention that maybe there is a possibility that Shah would have used his influence, which the CM has denied. He had said that nobody is above the law. But I want to again ask here somebody, all of us, that why can't we develop a mechanism where alcohol age permit is checked. If you go to the US, you can't buy a bottle of beer if you're not within the can of beer, if you're not within the permissible limits to have a can of beer. But if we have a law, we have the state excise department. If 25 years is the eligibility criteria for serving hard liquor, why restaurant and pub owners are not checking that? Why our Department of State Excise is so laxed in not making raids and doing raids every Friday, Saturday, Sunday night across all the pubs and
Okay.
nightclubs across Mumbai and other parts of the state? If hard liquor consumption is found below and given to the people below 25 years of age, I think then there is appropriate action.
So
should
let
be
me ask Yashovardhan Azad this. No one is saying that that's not a problem. Surely a 24-year-old who was underage to be drinking hard liquor in Maharashtra as per the excise rules, he should not have been served. But to my mind, that is not the problem. That is not the graver problem. The graver problem is after having consumed alcohol, for him to take the wheels of a car, and that to a high-end luxury car, that is the problem. And somehow, by demolishing the bar or parts of the bar and now calling it illegal structures and so on in post facto, are you not going after the wrong target? The target that they should be going after is to deter young people not from drinking, but from refraining from driving after drinking.
There is a phrase in Hindi in Bihar which is called a sharfi ki loot and koile pe chhapa. That means the diamonds are being looted and you're raiding the coal warehouses. This is exactly what the case is here. You hit at the weakest. A bar manager, what is the big deal if a guy is 23 and not 25? He fully knows exactly what he's doing. And suppose he has served him liquor. What is the gravest crime which has taken place? Come on, there's hardly anything. Because the most important part, as you pointed about, is the damn premeditated murder which he has committed.
Exactly.
If he says that he was not drunk, more the reason the crime is more. That he saw this lady hanging on the bonnet, dragged it for 1.5 kilometer, and then dashed it on the road, and then went over. I mean, we always hit at the wrong target. And I'm extremely happy when you said that this gentleman must be having some unauthorized construction at his resort or his home or a couple of homes, that those are the places which the bulldozer should actually, raid. The other thing, Zaka, is that what is happening in this country is we are becoming very, very lax. As it is, the 304A was made for the rich and powerful because it was, all the rich people will have cars. So even if you do it, it's bailable, and it was hardly 2 to 3 years. Then the culpable homicide came. And now I'll tell you another thing which is happening all over the country. The worst treated by the state governments is the traffic department. You see the traffic constable standing at 44 degrees centigrade, and there is no important gear and nothing. And that is why you're having more and more hit and run incidents involving the traffic.
Let me ask Ashutosh Srivastava, and I'll give him the final word. In the case of the client that you're defending, the Pune hit and run accused, A, he was underage, B, he was inebriated, nobody should have been serving him alcohol. But the most important thing, as Yashovardhan Azad says, is that why did he take the wheels of a car after being in an inebriated condition? And then why did he mow down people? The fact of the matter is, and this is the crux as far as the crime is concerned, which is culpable homicide not amounting to murder. Whether he was served alcohol, not served alcohol, minor, major, few months short of being major, those are incidental, those are secondary. What is the crux of the issue is that he mowed down someone who was an innocent bystander or a passerby. Ashutosh Srivastava, that is what needs to be addressed. That should be the focus, not the surround sound around it. Ashutosh.
See, first of all, there is a lot of difference between both the two cases. Here, what happened in Mumbai, or what has been shown, that a lady who was stuck in the car between the wheel and the bonnet was dragged for 1.5 kilometers approximately. So there was complete knowledge to the accused that this act would be causing death to that lady, and this is what is called culpable homicide. And hence the section 105 of the new BNS Act has been implicated.
No, but
which
Ashutosh, that
says
is true for your client also. He knew fully well that the two IT folks who were walking ahead of him and he mowed them down, that they were dying.
Yes,
He knew the gravity of what he was doing. Yet his father, his grandfather, everybody has managed to get bail.
See, that is why Section 75 of the Juvenile Justice Act was implicated, and the father, being responsible, was also made an accused in the another FIR. This is what is the law about. Because you cannot punish both the father and the son.
Mr. Azad, Mr. Tapase, and the gentleman from the Shinde Sena, thank you very much for joining us. We'll see how this plays out through the course of the next few days and weeks, because ultimately, we've had multiple cases across Maharashtra, Mumbai, Pune, the one in Nashik that happened over the weekend. Joining us now on the broadcast is former Chief Minister of the state of Maharashtra, Prithviraj Chavan. Now that the accused in the Worli hit-and-run case has been remanded to police custody after he was absconding for almost 60 hours, do you feel, Mr. Chavan, that the law has finally taken its course and that the public outcry that we saw has been assuaged to an extent?
No, I have no confidence, because all these three cases, there is a pattern. The Porsche hit-and-run case in Pune, 19th of May, was a son of a very wealthy builder who was well connected to the ruling elite. The MLA came to the hospital and tried to influence the authorities. The blood samples were changed. All that has come before us. Then there was immediately 4 or 5 days later, there was another hit-and-run incident in Nagpur. There again, it was a case of drunk driving, and that case is also being investigated.
Yeah.
The third incident about which you're talking about, that is a Worli incident where a BMW limousine killed people on 7th of July. Why this is happening? Because the people who are well connected politically, who are being blessed by the political authority, have no fear of law. The keys are being handed over to youngsters without a driving license. Cars are being driven without registration or a number plate. People are visiting bar, getting intoxicated. Use of drugs is also suspected.
Okay.
And I don't think there is no fear of the police. There is no fear of the authorities.
So, Mr. Chavan, in the Pune case, for example, the father, the grandfather, they've been arrested. They were arrested for trying to subvert the investigation. They've, of course, now got bail. The minor in custody of his aunt. In the Worli case, the accused has been sent to police remand. He's a major, he's not a minor. His father has been arrested, granted bail, and now been expelled from the Shinde Sena. Do you not see this as being qualitatively different, that at least the government is being seen to be taking action against one of its own?
No, no, I think this is too little, too late. Now the person has been temporarily withdrawn from the party, but he'll be a member of the party, he'll continue to work for the party, he'll continue to receive the political patronage. Now what people want to see is strict action taken against the culprits, and they should be put behind the bars. The full force of law should visit them. That is unlikely to happen.
Okay.
And
Mr. Prithviraj Chavan, former Chief Minister of Maharashtra, will see how this story plays out, but it really has really upset and angered a lot of people. The fact that someone who happens to be a politician's son could run over a middle class, a lower middle class lady, drag her body for a good 2 kilometers almost till the sea link and then dump it. That is just completely outraged. Normal, sane, right-thinking Indians who've been aghast at this story. Meanwhile, here's another story that we've been at the forefront of. CNN News 18 is exposing the nefarious designs, the drug designs of Pakistan. On the one hand, Pakistan continues to sponsor terror. On the other hand, they are waging a proxy war. CNN News 18's Anvit Srivastava and Akash Sharma get you this nexus and how it functions and how far and wide it has spread its tentacles across the valley. First, we bring you the testimonies of those who were at the center of this web. never before heard revelations will blow the lid of this entire drug nexus in the Kashmir Valley.
India's war against terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir is intensifying. Crackdown on terror networks, their stooges is arrested and their finances choked. But challenges remain, the latest one being that of narcotics trade. CNN News 18 is on a quest to reach the source from where this poison of narcotics is being infused in Jammu and Kashmir. Our investigation took us to Kupwara, a district that borders Pakistan. After spending a few days here, what came our way was implausible. We managed to establish link with an active network of the overground workers. After much persuasion, one of them agreed to spill the beans. For the first time on national television, a man actively involved in the illicit drug trade laid bare the intricacies.
ये एक तंगडार की बात नहीं है, ये पूरे जम्मू कश्मीर सब की बात है। पौंछ, लजौरी, डोडा, किश्तवाड़, जगह जगह की बात है सर। ये जब इधर से गए, ये पाकिस्तान विजिट पे गए, उनके फ़ोन नंबर वगैरह ये वो लटम पटम ने ला के रखा अपना सब कुछ। अब इनका तालमेल इधर से हो रहा है। अब उधर से वो आपने डायरेक्शन दिखाते हैं कि फलानी जगह, वो जो लोग यहाँ से गए हुए हैं उन लोगों को हर जगह का पता है, हर जंगल का पता है, हर बॉर्डर का पता है, किस बॉर्डर में किस जगह में हमें क्या करना है। फिर वो लाते हैं वहाँ पे, वहाँ लाकर फिर भेजते हैं इनको, ये लाते हैं सीधा इधर। जब इधर पहुँच गया तो फिर आगे खुल हो जाती है। फिर आगे जब नाके पे कोई पकड़ा गया, नहीं पकड़ा गया तो गया। उधर तो फेंसिंग है ही नहीं है सर, उस पार फेंसिंग नहीं है, फेंसिंग ऐसी पार है। उस साइड जो गाँव हैं ये उन गाँवों में पहले आती है, फिर उन गाँवों से फिर शिफ्ट होती है, समझो फेंसिंग से इस साइड। जब इस साइड से फिक्स होगी फिर चला गया काम आस्ता आस्ता, फिर इन्होंने बिक्री करना स्टार्ट करते हैं। गरीब जो होगा लालच में आ जाएगा, गरीब जो होगा जिसको घर में खाने के लिए नहीं होगा। आज ऐसे लोग भी हैं जिनको घर में खाने के लिए भी नहीं है सर। जब कोई गरीब होगा बोलेगा इसने मकान बना लिया, इसने बिल्डिंग बना ली, इसने गाड़ी ले ली, इसने ज़मीन ले ली फलानी जगह में। अब अगर मेरा भी रुपया 10, 20 हज़ार, 50 हज़ार मुझे मिल जाएगा, मेरे बच्चे भी खाना खाएंगे। बच्चों के लिए तो हर एक कुर्बानी देता है। ग्रेनेड आते हैं, हथियार आते हैं, वो पता नहीं क्या बोलते हैं, AK-47 पता नहीं क्या बोलते हैं, वो आती हैं, मैगजीनें आती हैं, गोलियाँ आती हैं, बारूद आते हैं, तो ये बिक्री करते हैं। उसके फ़ायदे में इनको मिल जाते हैं हथियार वो आगे एजेंसी पहुँचाते हैं, आगे आपने ठिकाने पे जहाँ उनको बोला होता है। ये पूरी जम्मू कश्मीर की पूरी बॉर्डर से आता है।
Our inquisition took us to our next stop, Poonch. We established contact with an insider who gave us insight into the operational details of the narco-terror network. After agreeing to meet us at a remote location and on condition of anonymity, this insider corroborated the claims made by the overground worker.
आप टेररिज्म और ड्रग्स को अलग नहीं कर सकते। पहले जब यहाँ टेररिज्म आया, फिर उसके साथ ड्रग आया। उससे पहले ड्रग का कोई नाम नहीं था, और वो जो ड्रग अब आया है वो अब हमारी नस्लों की जड़ों में चला गया है। अब वो पूरी सोसाइटी को ख़राब कर रहा है। जब लोग ड्रग में पड़ जाते हैं तो फिर वो टेररिज्म में भी सॉफ्ट टारगेट बन जाते हैं। ड्रग जितना है ये क्रॉस बॉर्डर हो रहा है, हमारे बॉर्डर से आ रहा है, हमारा पड़ोसी मुल्क भेज रहा है, और मिलिटेंसी जो है वो भी वही भेज रहा है, तो पीछे से भी ये जुड़ा है। तो ये तो है ना कि फिर वो उसी रास्ते से आ रहा है, बॉर्डर के सटे इलाकों से लोगों का हो सकता है आपस में वो लिंक तो है ना।
We are in Kupwara right now, one of the last districts in Kashmir to touch the LOC. Also, one of the districts famous for its notoriety in narco-terrorism. But what is this narco-terrorism chain that we keep talking about? What the officers believe that people and those who live in the bordering areas, they get access to drugs and narcotics flung across the border into Pakistan. That is picked up by the OGWs, the overground workers, and that is further sold to get money. And this drugs goes on to people and youth living in Kashmir and Jammu. And when that money that is collected, that makes its way back into Pakistan in the Indian currency, that is when the chain of narco-terrorism is completed.
Then there's been a lot of speculation. What's Joe going to do? Is he going to stay in the race? Is he going to drop out? What's he going to do? Well, here's my answer. I am running and going to win again.
Let's do another debate this week so that Sleepy Joe Biden can prove to everyone all over the world that he has what it takes to be president. But this time it will be man to man, no moderators, no holes barred. Just name the place, anytime, anywhere.
The knives are out for Joe Biden after his poor performance in the first 2024 presidential debate against Donald Trump. With the election in November just months away, some Democrats are calling on the president to step aside because of concerns around his mental fitness. At least half a dozen House Democrats have publicly broken ranks. More have done so privately. Even governors of Democratic states are not happy at the idea of an old and tired president with failing faculties running at the ripe old age of 81. Joe Biden, on the other hand, is defiant about staying on in the race. In every public meeting he has spoken since the disastrous debate performance, he has dug his heels in, saying there is no question of him stepping aside.
With all my heart and soul, I can do this job because, quite frankly, the stakes are too high. The stakes are too high.
He even said that only God Almighty can force him out. But here's the thing. Unless President Biden agrees to stand aside, it will get ugly for the Democrats. Let's run you through the various possible scenarios and what legal complications may arise in each one of them. First, can Joe Biden withdraw from the race? Yes. If, and it's a big if, President Biden decides to step down as the Democratic Party's presumptive nominee, it would be relatively straightforward to find another candidate. The party's nominee will officially be chosen at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago from the 19th to the 22nd of August. The Democrats are reportedly planning to nominate Biden and his running mate, Vice President Kamala Harris, ahead of that gathering, virtually making the convention just a matter of formality. At the convention, a candidate must win support from a majority of the delegates, who are basically party officials who formally choose the nominee. Delegates are assigned to candidates proportionally based on the results of each state's primary. Any winning candidate must get more than half the delegates. This year, Biden won almost 99% of the nearly 4,000 delegates. According to DNC rules, those delegates are pledged to support the incumbent president. If Joe Biden willingly drops out of the race, it could turn into a free-for-all. Democrats would be left with what is called an open convention, where they would suggest potential nominees and then continue voting until one of the candidates receives a majority of the delegates. That could spark off a frantic contest among Democrats who are vying for a shot at the nomination. Biden so far has not given any indication that he would consider stepping aside. But if he decides to do so, that opens up an entirely different can of worms, the first of which would be to find a new candidate who has both acceptability among the Democrats, but also, more importantly, the ability to beat Donald Trump in November. If Biden were to get replaced, part of the negotiation for him to step down, and perhaps the reason why he's digging his heels in, is to ensure that he gets the final say in who replaces him. He currently seems to be favoring his running mate, the Vice President Kamala Harris. The problem is Harris is polling worse against Trump than even Biden. The second scenario, can Biden be forced out? Well, if he doesn't want to go, this is where the process gets really tricky. In the modern political era, a major national party has never tried a hostile takeover of the nominee. However, DNC regulations do have some loopholes that could, at least in theory, make it possible for Biden to be pushed out. The rules allow delegates in all good conscience to reflect the sentiments of those who elected them. Now, this means they could potentially look to someone else. It could be an incredibly ugly scenario, though. There could even be a revolt among the party delegates. But the DNC can alter the party rules at any given point, even during the convention. Back in 1968, when President Lyndon Johnson decided not to run for re-election, the party shifted from an open convention in which delegates could cast ballots for whoever they chose to a closed process. It was called a closed convention, where a delegate was attached to a candidate based on primary results. That year's nomination was won by Johnson's then Vice President Hubert Humphrey, even though he did not have a majority of the pledged delegates when the convention began. Even if Biden were to suddenly exit the race, conservative groups have vowed to file multiple lawsuits challenging whoever the Democrats decide to replace Biden with. Will Kamala Harris then replace Biden? Vice President Kamala Harris would automatically take Biden's place if he were to step down during his presidential term. But the same rules do not apply if Biden pulls out as a candidate before the election. And there is no mechanism in place that would give the vice president an upper hand at an open convention. Instead, Kamala Harris would have to win the majority of delegates just like any other candidate. It may be that Biden then supports her to replace him if he steps aside. She's already on the Democratic ticket. Harris would have access to all the campaign funds that are currently available to the president. She also has a national profile, but her relatively low popularity amongst the wider American public might be a disadvantage, particularly if she goes up against Trump in November. The other frontrunners are all governors from different Democratic states. Gavin Newsom of California, Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, and J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois. Could the 25th Amendment be invoked? The 25th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution allows the Vice President and a majority of the cabinet to declare the President unable to perform the duties of his office. If the 25th Amendment is invoked, then power is transferred to the Vice President to serve as the acting President. This has never happened before in the 248-year history of American democracy. But following the disastrous debate performance, senior congressional Republicans have called on Biden's cabinet to consider invoking Amendment 25. After the U.S. Capitol riots back in 2021, the Democrat-controlled House of Representatives had approved a resolution urging the then Vice President Mike Pence to invoke the 25th Amendment to remove Donald Trump. But that move went nowhere. So in the end, it boils down to one thing. Will Biden step down on his own? If he does, then Democrats have to find a consensus candidate who can beat Trump in November. And if Biden doesn't, then the Democrats have to swallow their pride and see Biden losing to the same man he beat 4 years ago. So 2024 is the year of elections. As many as 50 countries around the world are going to be going to polls. We've had polls here in India just this past week in Britain and France. But the big one is the US election later this year. And there seems to be almost a chorus now building that Joe Biden, the incumbent president, should drop out of the race and make way for a younger Democratic face. And this is particularly after the CNN debate last week, where he was thought to have performed poorly. So let's try and make sense of the US race so far, this whole churning that we're seeing in the Democratic world. All of that, try and make sense with Mr. Mukesh Aghi. He's the president and CEO of the US-India Strategic Partnership Forum. Thank you very much and welcome back to India.
Thank you.
So let's start with this whole chatter around President Biden and whether he should run for office again. Is he fit enough to run for office again? And particularly, it's been accentuated after the CNN debate performance. What is your view? Do you think he is there? Is he fit enough, mentally agile enough to do the job again for another term?
Well, you have a massive debate happening on that issue. And you have within the Democratic Party multiple camps. Some camps are saying, hey, let's support him. Yesterday, the U.S. Senate among the Democratic Party met and they advised President Biden not to run. Then you had the Black Caucus on the House side, said we will support for him to run itself. Then you have large donors who are basically holding off giving money, saying that they want a newer, younger candidate. Because all polls numbers are showing that today, if elections are held, that Trump will beat President Biden. So I think for Democratic Party, in order to save the Senate, in order to save the House and the White House itself, they have to make a decision and move forward itself. They can't live in the current turmoil.
If he were to decide not to run, who then is best placed, according to you, to be the Democratic nominee?
Well, again, three broad camps there. You have a camp within the White House saying that Vice President Kamala Harris should run. And then you have another camp which is saying basically the governor of California along with Gretchen from Michigan should run. And they have another camp which is basically wooing Gina Raimondo to consider for running. So I think all three are debating. I think they have to decide in the next 2 weeks, one candidate, go behind the candidate and make it happen then.
Let's say if it is Kamala Harris, and I want you to walk our viewers through what are her advantages and what are her disadvantages, because ultimately, whoever that candidate is has to go up against Trump and be able to beat Trump in November. You think she can do it?
So you have Biden-Harris campaign, which has accumulated hundreds of millions of dollars towards campaign funding.
Yeah.
Anybody who runs that will require almost $1 billion to run. So that's the advantage she has. The fundamental question is, can she woo the younger voter? Can she woo the middle to the right voters? Can she get the business community backing her? That's the question which we need to answer.
So let's talk about the other side, which is Trump. It's almost certain that he will be the nominee. They're going to have the convention in a few days from now. How should India view a Trump 2.0 presidency, which is more than likely?
Well, you have to look at Trump 1.0 presidency. He was good for India in every aspect. Yes, he took away GSP.
Yeah.
The challenge is going to be while Biden presidency is much more structured, Trump will be much more transactional.
Okay.
It'll be whimsical. So I think we'll have to basically eat the bullets when you talk about Harley Davidson and others, and more will come from that perspective. So I think we need to have a thick skin to deal with that itself. So I think overall Trump presidency or Biden presidency, both are good for India, because it's not about a president. It's about the geopolitical environment. It's about the economic relationship. In every aspect, US-India relationship is going to strengthen as time goes by.
But there's a big fear that if Trump comes, he'll pull out of NATO, he will leave Ukraine to fight its own wars. He will really not care about the rest of the world as much as, let's say, a Democratic presidency would do. Wouldn't that be concerning for India, particularly in the context of China?
Well, if you look at from every aspect, Trump will get much more aggressive on China.
Okay.
Will put in more tariffs. And India plays a pivotal role because a lot of US companies would like to de-risk from China as Trump comes in. So more traffic, more companies will move into India from that perspective. He also sees India as a counterbalance to China from a military perspective also. So I think if Trump comes in, pulls out of NATO, pulls out of Ukraine, I don't think that has an impact on India. Impact will be more from China. It'll be beneficial for India if Trump takes a much more stringent, strong stance against China.
I do want to ask you, we've been talking about this de-risking, decoupling from China since COVID happened. It's been 4 years. What do Indian companies need to do to try and be the beneficiaries, if you will, of this de-risking by global companies, including American companies?
Well, we should look at Vietnam. I mean, Vietnam has been able to attract more companies than India. And why? Because it's a very speedy process. Ease of doing is much easier. Tax structures are simpler. Dispute resolution is much faster. And ease of doing business is much more expedient. So I think we have to look at Vietnam as a model and try to basically emulate that. The challenge we have is India is not one country. You have states. Every state has different policy. And somehow we need to streamline between central government and the state government some of those policies itself.
I do want to talk a little bit about India. India, of course, had elections recently in the summer, and I'm sure it was very keenly watched stateside as well. What's the view now of Modi 3.0, the view from, let's say, Washington?
Well, you have to look at the noise we were hearing was India's democracy is fading. India is becoming much more autocratic. India's human rights are being violated. And after this election, suddenly everybody is saying India is a role model for democracy. India is a country everybody should emulate. The transition of power happened so smoothly. There was no storming of the Capitol. There was no lawsuits itself. So India has become an example for the world as a democratic country.
So what does that tell you? Does that tell you that that whole perception of democratic backsliding was basically because some people did not like Modi, and now that he's got a reduced mandate, it seems like, okay, the Indian people can decide what's best for themselves?
No, absolutely. I think the issue was not India. The issue from their perspective was Modi. The issue was BJP, so they were targeting that. If you read the stories in New York Times, Washington Post, Financial Times, or Economist, and now suddenly they have changed their tunes itself. India has become a role model for democracy.
What is the view, though, of Rahul Gandhi? Of course, he's done well. The Congress has done well. They've gone from 52 to 99 seats. The opposition bloc is now a substantial bloc in Parliament. I don't know if you got a chance to see the first few days of the recent Parliament session. He's now the leader of the opposition. Is there a view that his time will come, or that he's getting himself ready for the top job?
Well, I think he's still a unknown commodity in the US.
Okay.
And I think that's where he has to come out, basically talk about his policy agenda, talk about his foreign policy positioning itself. Because so far, what we have seen so far in the parliament is opposition to everything.
Yeah.
I think they have to change their stance, talk about how they can do things better for the country, how they can build better foreign relationship. The substance has to come out for the world to get to know Rahul Gandhi.
I do want to talk to you about some of the other elections that have happened recently. In Britain, there is now a Labour government, first time back in power after 2005 elections. And then you have in France the surprise election, where the surprise left-wing alliance seems poised to form a government. Where do you see this coming from? I mean, there's been a lot of talk about a cost of living crisis. People in the bottom end of the pyramid are really feeling the heat because of the Ukraine war and other reasons, COVID, etc. Do you see a sort of political correction happening?
I think it's a combination of multiple things. One is in UK for 14 years of conservative, people want to change. But also more important is the disparity of income gap is getting bigger and bigger. It's not just only UK. It's in France, it's in the US, it's around the world itself.
Even in India, actually.
Even in India also. So I think that has to be corrected itself. You look at France. I mean, say we thought Marine Le Pen team will come and take over, but the left united and took over itself. Again, there was the issue of unemployment, the issue of income disparity itself. So I think this momentum moving to the left is suddenly picking up.
Okay.
And we'll see what happens in the US. But what we are seeing is people are saying, we are not well off. We need to have a better sense of income, better sense of living itself. So that momentum has picked up quite a bit.
What about on the issue of immigration? Because that was also a big lightning rod issue, whether it's in the UK or France or even in the US. I know immigration and this whole business of illegal immigration is a big talking point. So the view from the right is, they're here illegally, they need to be thrown back to the countries that they've come from. And the view from the left is, we need these people because we need labor. How do you see the whole immigration debate now playing out in light of these elections?
Well, you have to understand the income disparity plays into immigration, especially illegal immigration itself. And as you try to correct income disparity, I mean, say if you look at the third largest illegal people crossing into United States are Indians now. And so, number one is Mexican, then El Salvadoran, and then Indians itself. If you look at France, you have people coming from North Africa itself. You look at UK also. I think you have to find a balance. When you go into Europe, the older population is not contributing to social security system. They're not contributing towards the income tax. You need younger population, but when you're having a lesser birth rate itself, you need immigration to fill in. So I think every country needs to look at it from that perspective, find the right balance, and adjust, fine-tune the immigration policies.
All right, and final word. So come this November, what's the new White House going to look like? Is it going to be a Trump presidency? Is it going to be a Biden returning back to power? Is it going to be another Democratic candidate? What is your crystal ball gazing as far as November 2024 is concerned?
It's so early to say. You have 4 months left. A lot can happen between the 4 months itself. And you have to understand, it's the last 1 week which kind of makes a difference. It's the last 1 day when you get the vote out that makes the difference itself. So I would say it's very hard to...
ये तो सामने क्यों नहीं आया? 3 दिन छुपा क्यों? इसका राज क्या है? इसमें पॉलिटिकल कुछ है? इधर इसमें कुछ पॉलिटिक्स रहेगा इसलिए वो छुपा है ना? हाँ? अभी वो ऊपर से वो लोग प्रेशर डालेंगे, हो गया खत्म. क्या कर सकते हैं हम लोग गरीब लोग हैं. हम लोग क्या बड़ा वकील नहीं कर सकते. हमारे पीछे कोई नहीं है.
सर, ये भी कहा जाता है इन्वेस्टिगेशन में कि आप लोग जब स्कूटी पे थे तो तकरीबन 1.5 किलोमीटर तक आपकी वाइफ को गाड़ी से धक्का लगा गया।
ऐसा कौन बोला 1.5 किलोमीटर तक गया? अभी बताओ, सीजे हाउस से सीलिंग कितना किलोमीटर है, हमको बताओ। सीजे हाउस आप जानते हैं, सीलिंग जानते हैं? फिर मेरा औरत क्या उधर गिर के 1.5 किलोमीटर गिर के क्या चल के गया उधर?
We should get justice. My mother should get justice. I want him to get this hanging. Like she is in really bad pain. उसको बहुत लगा है. I saw her with my eye. The hospital, I saw her. She's in really bad pain. I want her justice.
लड़की को न्याय मिलेगा मुझे, दूसरे कुछ नहीं मांगते हैं मुझे। उसका वैसा मेरे लड़की के साथ हुआ है वैसा ही हुआ। लड़की को न्याय मिलेगा मुझे, दूसरे कुछ नहीं मांगते हैं मुझे। उसका वैसा मेरे लड़की के साथ हुआ है वैसा ही हुआ।
जो पकड़ा गया है मिहिर शाह, उसको कम ज्यादा से ज्यादा फांसी से भी ज्यादा उसको सजा होना चाहिए बस।
Mihir Shah is nothing but an entitled brat. When the accident took place, the least one would have expected that you stop the car and take Kaveri to the hospital. What did he choose to do? He chose to drive with her for 1.5 kilometers, where the victim lost life. Honorable Chief Minister and Deputy Chief Minister have interrogated 18 people. People have been arrested in this case, be it the family members of the culprit or the driver concerned. There has to be fear of law. There will be justice, and there will be natural justice with no political insulation.
हा पब संस्कृतीने महाराष्ट्रात बिघडवण्याचं काम ह्या महाराष्ट्रात झालंय। आता हे जर पब असे रात्रभर चालू असतील, त्यांना काही नियम नसतील, काही अटी नसतील, तर याच्यामध्ये प्रचंड प्रमाणामध्ये हा मोठ्या प्रमाणामध्ये हप्ता हा पोलिसांना, राज्य उत्पादन शुल्काच्या पोलिसांना मिळतो। किंवा अशा संस्कृती जर आपल्या देशामध्ये राज्यामध्ये वाढत असतील तर ह्याची सर्वस्वी जबाबदारी ही पोलीस खात्याच्या।
Climate change is on our doorstep. It's time for a revolution to take root. And it starts with 1.4 billion Indians. It starts with one tree. One tree for humanity. One tree for Mother Earth. One tree for a future. Project One Tree. A News 18 Network initiative.
Presented by
आमच्या सारख्यांनी बी लोकशाही पद्धतीने डॉक्टर बाबासाहेबांनी आपल्याला संविधान दिलं आणि जनतेने आता रोडवर आलं पाहिजे। आम्ही तर येणार आहे, आम्ही येतोच आहे, पण हे सगळी संस्कृती बंद करण्याकरता पोलिसांच्या हाताबाहेर गेलेला हा विषय आणि जनतेने हा कायदा हातात घ्यायची आता वेळ आलेली आहे।
Mihir Shah, the accused in the Worli BMW hit and run case, is finally arrested by the Mumbai police. Strict action must be taken against this man because he mercilessly drove over the poor lady and killed her. All laws applicable in such a case should be applied on Mihir Shah. There are reports that Mihir Shah's father is affiliated to the Eknath Shinde Shiv Sena. The Bharatiya Janata Party led Maharashtra government must now make sure that just because the culprit is affiliated to the Eknath Shinde Shiv Sena, he should not be given leniency and go scot free.
जिस प्रकार का तपास चल रहा है उसके बारे में पूरी जानकारी जो उनकी फैमिली थी उनको पुलिस ने दी है। उसके बारे में डिटेलिंग भी बताया है, कौन से कलम लगाया है, कौन से कलम क्यों लगाया है, इसके बारे में पूरी जानकारी पुलिस स्टेशन की ओर से उन्हें दी गई। उस समय हम भी मौजूद थे। और भले जो एक मुद्दा आ रहा है कि 48 आवर्स के बाद अगर अल्कोहल पिया है तो मिलेगा या नहीं मिलेगा, लेकिन जो उन्होंने बताया 304 कलम जो लगा है, अगर दारू भी नहीं पिया है, ये प्रूव भी नहीं हुआ, तो भी जो गुनाह हुआ है उसके पूरे टेक्निकल एविडेंसेस उनके पास मौजूद है और वो हिसाब से वो प्रूव कर सकते।
देखिए, हमने पहले तो जाके फैमिली से वर्ली कोलीवाड़ा में जाके मुलाकात की और जब हम प्रदीप नाकवा जी से मिले तो हमें पता चला कि जिस तरह से उस दिन सुबह घटनाक्रम हुआ था, एक मध्यम वर्गीय कुटुंब सुबह मच्छी लेने के लिए गया क्योंकि उनका व्यवसाय है और 50 के स्पीड से चल रहा था, तो एक अमीरजादे ने आके जो है अपनी गाड़ी से उनको जो है धक्का ठोकने का काम किया। वो बोनेट पे गिर गए, फिर उन्होंने बोनेट पे रोकने का भी कोशिश की, उनकी वाइफ ने भी उनको रोकने की कोशिश की पर वो रुका नहीं। उन्होंने गाड़ी को आगे लेके गए सीलिंग तक, उसके बाद उनके शायद ड्राइवर बैठे और ड्राइवर आगे गाड़ी लेके उनके ऊपर चले गए। तो ये जो सब बातें हैं ना, ये बहुत कहीं ना कहीं हमें शक पैदा करती है और 3 दिन के बाद वो इंसान मिले। अब उनका अगर ब्लड चेक करेंगे तो उसमें आपको पता भी नहीं चलेगा कि मद्यप्राशन किया है कि नहीं।
60 घंटे के बाद खून में क्या मिलेगा?
Hello, Namaskar. This is First Post and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. NATO leaders are meeting in Washington, D.C. to celebrate their 75th anniversary. But they have less to celebrate and more to worry about on the future of Ukraine and a future featuring Donald Trump as US President. We'll discuss that. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Modi is in Austria today, the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister in 41 years. We'll bring you the highlights. Also discussing if India is eyeing a bigger role in the Ukraine conflict. Modi raised it again, calling for dialogue and offering all possible support to bring peace.